Hey guys, Logan here for Popular Woodworking Magazine. You know, the start of any project is getting good, consistent project parts out of your planer and jointer. And getting those good, consistent parts is going to lead to a good foundation for a project. But when you're bouncing back and forth from your workbench to your planer and you're thicknessing more parts, sometimes you can have little variances. But there's a good, easy way, and it's a cheap way to get consistent thicknesses out of your planer. And that's by installing one of these guys. This is a digital readout. So what this is an add-on that replaces the scale on your planer. Now these are inexpensive. They're from IGauging, and there's two different styles available. The smaller style up top is for what we would call a lunchbox planer. That's gonna be like this Dewalt 735, the 734, anything where the head is what moves up and down as you change the thickness. This lower box here is for bigger style planers. These are gonna be a bigger style, kind of a stationary planer where the bed moves up and down when you adjust the thickness. So if you're gonna add one of these, just make sure you're getting the right style for what planer you have. These are pretty simple to install. So let's head over to the bench, we'll open this guy up and take a look at the parts in it, and we'll install it on this 735. All right, so because we are installing this on a Dewalt 735, we are gonna choose this planer readout that the head moves on the planer. So opening this guy up, we have a set of instructions, and these are for the Dewalt 734 planer, but this is what I would kind of consider a universal style mounting bracket. So this will give you kind of the gist of getting it mounted, but you will have to adjust it for whatever planer you have. And then opening up, we have the actual sliding scale here. And then, let's get those out of the way. We have a drill bit, and that's going to be for this bracket and bolt. That's what's going to actually attach this stem to the planer. We have a pair of batteries, so we have one to go inside the readout and then a backup. This is going to be the mounting bracket that actually attaches to the planer, so it will move up and down with the head. And then we have a bag of hardware and the Allen wrench. So let's go ahead and mount that bracket. And on this one, we want the bracket to be on the left-hand side as we look at it. So we're going to install it over here. Okay, so I'm going to leave it a little loose so I can adjust this once we get it mounted. Okay, there we go. So now I can fine-tune this positioning once we get over to the planer, and then I'll tighten it down before we actually install it. Now we will also need some of these bolts, depending on what size planer you have. The current readout on the planer will use one of these sets of screws. So we'll bring all of them and pick the right set. There are M4 and M3 styles in there along with washers. So we'll grab those and let's head back over to the planer. All right, now with that bracket installed, we can see kind of how this is going to mount. So the original one that's on this Dewalt is going to get removed, and we're going to replace it with this guy, okay? And then depending on the planer that you have, you're going to mount this shaft either at the top or the bottom. There's two utility holes. There's one on the bottom, one on the top, and kind of depending where it lays on your planer, you'll use one of those holes with this bracket as support behind it. So let's go ahead and get this guy off. Okay, there we go. And now we can go ahead and install this. Okay, so now I can see that these two screws on the back of this readout are going to rub on this original one that's here. Now you have a couple options. You could just cut this guy off and remove it altogether because we are putting a digital readout on there. Or you can grab a couple of spacers, and that's what I did. I just grabbed these little nylon spacers, and we'll use those with some longer M4 screws. We'll just slip those on over there. We'll go ahead and install this guy. Okay, and I'm going to hold it as vertical as I can as I start these. We'll just snug it down for now. There's a little bit of adjustment here. Okay, there we go. So we can see now with this guy in place, that head will move up and down. Nothing's going to rub on the back side. And now we can go ahead and position this to mark and drill for our bracket on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank this head all the way up as far as I can just to give myself room. Then I'm going to take a knee and I'm going to slide this guy down. And I'm lining the 3-inch mark on the digital readout with the 3-inch mark on the original bracket. And then we're going to go ahead and mark that. So I'm going to take the screw that's going to go through this hole, thread it through, and then I'm going to mark its location on the bracket. So we're going to be drilling a hole right here for that screw to attach. There we go. Then the nut gets installed in the back, and we can check, make sure she operates without binding. Okay, so now we have to calibrate this digital readout. Now I did adjust the digital readout caliper a little bit lower, just so I had the full range of motion on this planer. So to calibrate this thing, we want to plane a piece of stock, and then we'll measure that with a set of calipers. And whatever that measurement reads on that piece of stock is what we will input on this display. And I did put a battery in here, so it's turned on now. I don't really care what that display says, as long as those numbers do change and it's reading out as I move this. So now we'll adjust this down. That looks pretty good. We're going to turn this on and plane this. Now grabbing a set of calipers, I'm going to measure this. And we are reading at 1.03. So to set this, I'm going to hold the set button. And now the calibration is blinking. So now I'm going to long hold it again. And the first number will start blinking. I'm going to press it once, and that will change the number. Then I'll long hold again to move to the next digit, long hold again to move to the next digit, and then we'll change that. 1.03, double check my measurement. 1.03. We'll long hold it again, long hold it again. There we go. So now that is dialed in, and we can test it. What I'll do is I'll change this planing stop down, and we'll go down to, let's call it 0.9 of an inch. Right there. Now we'll run it through the planer again and measure it once again. So at 0.9 it wouldn't feed, but I went up to 0.92, and look at that, we're dead on. So adding a digital readout to your planer, whether you have a lunchbox style like this or a larger one, is a way to get consistent results, because then I can always hit that number once again when I come back later in project, and it's much easier to read. So this IGauging digital readout is available from chipsfly.com. Go ahead and add one to your planer and increase the accuracy in your shop.